Right, mate. Round 3.
How are we doing? We're getting there.
Yeah, we'll get there in the end. It's all this new equipment, mate. This is it. Fucking pecks me head. Right, Kyle O'Reilly. You come from Manchester. I appreciate you coming down, mate.
Pleasure to be here.
For those who don't know you, I'll do a little intro at first, but those who don't know you, mate, just tell us a bit about where you're from, your hobbies growing up. Obviously a big United fan.
Yeah, armchair supporter. But yeah, from Old Trafford, born and raised, South Manchester. Hobbies as a kid growing up, big into football. I was semi-pro for about 2 years, and that soon ended when I got a nasty injury. So yeah, turned to music just to, I suppose, replace the fact that football wasn't gonna be a thing. So football was always a big thing in my life. Turned to music, and now my passion really is just raising frequency. You know, traveling, love traveling. And just surrounding myself with like-minded people, and every day is a school day. So this is where we're at now with the mental health. It's a big issue. We are massively under attack on a global scale. You know, yourself, Lee, being on social media, it's a lot of people are in a very dark place, and they've not got many people to turn to. And something I picked up on many years ago is the people that you think won't let you down are the ones, you know, friends and family. We don't judge. So this is why I'm passionate about this, and I see the content you're doing. It's like-minded, and it's just great to connect with you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, mate. And I suppose the next question is what was the moment or the reason why you sort of started wanting to do what you're doing now? I think I told you off camera my reasons, and I'm in the process now of, I don't want to repeating the same story and telling it gets me down a little bit the more I talk about why I've started what I'm doing. But I believe I've started what I'm doing because there's people out there, like you just said, that need helping. Definitely. And if peer-on-peer conversation is something that can benefit an everyday Joe like me or you, then, you know, I think it's our duty and our right to do so.
100%.
So, you know, I guess what was that moment where you thought, you know what, I need to step up here and, you know, start speaking out?
I think it was a breakdown. I was engaged, 5-year relationship. I was engaged for 3 years out of the 5 years, and that just hit massive turbulence, and it just plummeted rapidly, painfully. You know, I'm sure you've been there yourself, Lee. You look at someone and think, this is it now, rest of my life. You had it all planned out, and you were working towards that, and literally overnight, it just took a turn for the worst. And then at the same time, my grandma, she was passing away, and she was my queen. So yeah, it was like a double whammy for all the wrong reasons, and I just fell into a very dark place. Like I said to you off cam, I respect everyone. You know, fortunately for me, I didn't resort to taking substances or drinking, not because I'm any better than anyone that does. It was just I just became very still. And anyone that knows me in my personal life will know that Kyle's the type of guy to do 20 things a day and 100 miles an hour all the time. Energetic, you know, take action, don't sit there pondering. And I just became still. And that was my biggest demon, is just being sat alone with me. And the people that I thought would be there for me, they wasn't. And I've always been there for them. I've always been like the father of the group, from going clubbing, lads getting into, you know, the people getting bladdered on a night out. I wouldn't. Because I know I'm out with certain lads. I know that once he's had 6 double JDs, that's it. You know, he'll be coming to me because he's kicking off with some randomer in a club. So I've always had me guards up in terms of certain people that I've been around, always looked out for people. And even though I didn't expect it, disappointed is the word that comes to mind with certain individuals, especially my close circle of friends. But I didn't get angry. I didn't blame them, because the fact is they're going through their problems, and they probably didn't have the ability to understand and to help. So where did you go? I went to my doctors, as you do. Like I said to you before, big pharma, we've all got our opinions, and I did some counselling, and that was once a week on a phone. And even though the phone call was pleasant, it was helping me see things a lot clearer. You're on your own for 24 hours a day, every day. So then 1 hour phone calls a week was not enough. So what do? I looked into alternative medicine, come across mushrooms, and like I say, never been big into drugs. You know, I used to be a holiday rep years ago, so we've all had a little party, and it was good times, and we just leave it at that. But when I come across the mushrooms, just looking into them and researching them, like most things that I do, I'm not naive. I look into things thoroughly and make sure if I can sit with it, if I can resonate with it. And it just sounded like mushrooms were going to be a solution at the time. So there's a TED talk online. I forget the name of the woman. She's a renowned psychologist, and she says 6 hours of a trip of mushrooms in the right conditions is the equivalent to 6 years of professional therapy. Now I'm very impatient. I thought, where do I sign up? So you know, it's like anything. You build it up, build it up. And yeah, I did like an 8-gram trip.
Did you?
Yeah, and I didn't do it for the psychedelic side of things, but that obviously plays a part. But all I can say is when I closed my eyes, I just slungshot off into another realm, and there was so much peace and comfort within it. I know you mentioned there before things that you've done similar, and once was enough for me. Just doing that. I've got friends that do it on a monthly, quarterly basis. They do ceremonial grade, you know, the whole approach, they'll fast.
Yeah.
Very respect of it. A lot of people see it as just like a lot of students will take it, just pop a few mushrooms. No, that stuff there is medicine. And it was, honestly, cliche, it was life-changing. It helped me see things a lot clearer, and it made me realize that I have all the answers to all my problems, and stop looking outside of yourself for it. But we are human, you know, we are emotional beings, and we do need other people at times. But for me, at the time when I needed it the most, I just felt so neglected. So I thought I need to stop relying on other people for me to be happy. And then it does open up a whole new chapter in my brain. A very charitable individual. I've been like that since birth. My grandparents used to do food banks and stuff. So I remember as a kid, they used to come back and they didn't get paid any money for it. They didn't do it for money, but they come back with crates of little orange cartons, the stuff you get in prison, the orange juice. So from a young age, that's always been around me to be charitable. You know, my grandma wouldn't ever walk past a homeless person without giving them £1 or whatever. So for me, when you are a charitable individual, I think the world opens up doors for you that you can't imagine. So yeah, charity work, that still continues now. I do a lot of outreach work, like I said before. And I just feel as though I'm in a position where I can help people with certain things. You know, every day is a school day. I never want to be a complete project. And I think anybody that says, no, there's no issues with me or whatsoever, they're the people with the most issues. The mask will always fall off. Ego is our enemy. It really is. And a lot of people don't want to admit that. Ego is our enemy.
Again, so that all sort of blends into what I was going to say then. So I'll start. Have you seen I think it's a documentary on Netflix about, I think it was 3 children in the Amazon rainforest. They were in an airplane crash with a mother on like a small passenger plane.
Okay.
Anyway, it crashed into the Amazon rainforest, and they spent, I think it was 40 days looking for these kids. Couldn't find them. Bear in mind, they're in the middle of the fucking jungle.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they were about to call off the search. Anyway, they got the shaman in, and he'd done a DMT trip,
Okay.
and he fucking found them. He found the kids.
Yeah, yeah.
His story was that he went into this different realm as a lion or a tiger or something,
Yeah.
and wandered the jungle and found them. So whether people believe that or not is a different story, but he found them. I think for me, that sort of psychedelic realization is that I'm nothing, we're nothing, everything's nothing, but we're all together type thing.
100%.
That's sort of how I related it to my journey, and I sort of stopped becoming the center of my own universe.
Yeah.
I realized that I was just a small grain in a fucking massive cog, I guess.
Yeah.
And that brought me onto ego, because I think before it, I sort of had this persona like I've got a point to prove, you know, because I thought the world owed me a favor because of my childhood and things like this. And
Yeah.
I'd been wronged so many times. It was like, well, I can do what I want because the world owes me a fucking favor.
Yeah.
When it doesn't. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Unfortunately, it doesn't as well, because if it wasn't for that sort of ability to look at my ego and go, do you know what? You need to strip yourself back here, kid, and have another look at what's going on.
Definitely.
And I suppose that sort of perception of my reality is now becoming my reality, because the way I was living my life and, you know, thinking I was cool or whatever, nice, like you said, nice clothes, always, you know, nice things, going on holidays that you couldn't afford,
Yeah. Yeah.
all that bollocks, it means absolutely nothing. I'm not taking away from people who enjoy all those things, because that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, it's a form of hedonism, I call it, hedonistic happiness,
Yeah. Yeah.
where you sort of live your life for the manufactured happiness, I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas now doing this, I feel happier in myself. It's making me feel like I'm now serving a purpose, like I've got something in my life apart from my family and children and
Yeah.
work outside. It's like you've got this now. This is yours to do whatever you want with it,
Yeah.
and your sort of future is controlled by you. Whereas in the past, I've sort of, I've always been a working lad, come from a working town,
Yeah.
and it was always the perception that this is your future, this is what's going to happen. You're going to work your whole life, you're going to retire, and then die.
Yeah.
Like you said, you were brought up by your grandparents. My grandparents had a massive part in my life.
Mhm.
My granddad was my hero. My grandmother was my queen.
Yeah.
Um, and they were very, obviously, old school orientated, as my granddad worked every day of the week. He'd come home from work, he'd sit on the chair, lie in bed, he'd go to the pub for a pint. And that was his life,
Yeah.
And that sort of, that was my reality for a long time.
Yeah.
But now, mate, it's mental health's a big thing. It's affecting everybody more and more all the time.
100%. And it's getting worse. It is getting worse, and there's so many contributing factors towards it. Where do you start? And it's like yourself, you're on a TikTok, I'm on a TikTok, and like I said to you before, TikTok is very toxic.
Poison.
It is poison, and I'm not going to start targeting certain groups or genders, but there's a lot of young women on there, for example, and they're doing certain sites which we all know of, and it's heartbreaking to see that that's somebody's daughter. But what's the end result? Financial gain. And like you said there before, living a lifestyle, a materialistic lifestyle to give you a sense of happiness, which really now, as we're sat here doing this podcast, this makes you more happy than driving that fast car or that 2-weeker to Mexico. It's moments like this. So geography doesn't change the situation. You can't buy happiness. We've all done it. If I go and buy myself that new car or that new jacket, it'll make me feel good. But it's all perception.
And the thing is, it does make you feel good for a moment in time.
Yeah.
And that's what hedonism is. It's creating a reality around quick hits.
Yeah.
So you'll buy a nice car, and I said this to me missus. Don't get me wrong. If I had money,
Yeah.
I'd have a nice car.
Yeah, of course.
So it sounded, there can be a sort of hint in jealousy when I say this, but there's not. There's no jealousy.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I had $10 million and I bought a McLaren,
Yeah.
at that moment in time, it's like, wow, look at this car. But in 6 months' time, it's just a car.
It'll drive like a Ford Fiesta.
Yeah.
The novelty wears off.
Yeah. Whereas I think where I'm at the moment, mate, is meeting new people. I've never met you before.
Yeah.
You've walked in here, and it sounds like we've had a very, very similar upbringing.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's a lot of, we relate to a lot of things, and that's the beauty of meeting new people just by doing something like this.
Exactly. And it just shows how effective and positive it can be.
Yeah.
But it's trying to get through all the nonsense that's online. And, it's doing something so independently, but being so dependent on something that really you don't resonate with and you don't agree with morally. But we have to use, like I said to you before, unfortunately, it's just the way, if you're going to step into the social media realm, we have to utilize it. And it's difficult, numbers are just numbers. It's a digital number on a screen. It means nothing. It doesn't change who you are morally as a person. But on the social media side of things, it then opens up doors and it closes doors for you. So it's it's all ego. It's all ego that drives this. Like I said, there's people that I speak to and they've got millions of followers, and it's like, better if anything, I feel like I'm helping you, but because you've got this 1.1 million or whatever it is, millions of followers, you think you're in a better position than me. It's sad because really, that's just a million strangers. How many of them people could you call on when you're on death's door? Not one of them, probably.
If I could ask you one question, mate, about Sue, when you said you went through your breakup and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What was the darkest time where you thought to yourself, I'm never going to get out of this? Was there one moment that sort of sparked you to say, I've had enough now? Because there was with me, and that's why I'm asking. There was one point with me where I thought, you know what, I'm either going to stay this way or I'm going to end up dead. Which I nearly did, like I mentioned to you before, and I've said it a few times. But was there a moment with you where you were like, something's got to give it. I've got to do something about it for yourself?
Yeah, definitely. There was a few times, Lee, and being a selfless individual that I am, I give far too much always. But there was a few occasions, and like I say, I'm not naive. I like to think I'm not naive. I'm very open-minded, and there's not much that you can get past me. And there was a handful of occasions in that relationship where I thought I deserve so much better. not that I'm a better person, but I deserve, based on it's all about, you know, you're investing in somebody emotionally, energy, physically, whatever, everything, the whole package. And I just felt I was just being treated so wrong, and it wasn't justified from her end. But then because I had the big heart I did for her, I thought it's because she's been abused in relationships in the past. And I almost felt on a handful of occasions she was letting her anger out towards me because she knew she could get away with it. I wouldn't raise my hand towards her. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
It was almost like this bottled up anger that she had. She let it all out on me. Yet I continued to still love her through that. But the turning point for me was after a year of the breakup, of still being in touch and trying to make it work. Again, like I said before, doing certain things with the mushrooms and counseling and reading into certain things and taking time out for myself, learning to love myself. Literally, I just woke up one day and I thought, you know what, fuck this. Like I'm so at peace. I was always been scared of being on my own. I come from a very, very large social group. Always a Jack the lad when he was younger. You know, never shy. Would never say no to a night out with the lads. Always had friends around me. From living on my own, living room, there'd be 3, 4 lads. We'd chilling, playing FIFA,
Yeah.
getting a scran together.
Yeah.
Like I was never really on my own. And then when I was on my own, it was like that was the darkest time. It was like, now it's time to get to know you. You know, we've all got childhood traumas. That's always been pushed to the back of my brain, which I think most of us in adulthood now, we don't like to admit that. They say the first 7 years of your life will set you up for the rest of your life. And a lot of things went on in that time. I wouldn't call it sexual abuse, but there was a lot of physical abuse from my granddad. If I was naughty, he'd take me into the conservatory and he wouldn't slap me, he'd give me a dig. Now he's an Irishman. In his mind, he wasn't
To him, that's normal, isn't it?
normal, you know, and love him to bits. But yeah, like, in a grand scheme of things, if that was reported to social services today, that's some severe extreme abuse there. But I'd never put him in that box, but it was. But it made me the man who I was. It toughened me up. So we deal with these things, and I think when we go through adulthood and we avoid ourselves, the longer you avoid yourself, is you're prolonging your happiness, really.
It's funny, mate, because I spoke about this on a podcast probably last week or the week before, and I went to this event. It was called Master Your Mind event in Wigan,
Okay.
and it was, I can't remember the guy's name, but Tom Blackledge was there, the ex-UFC fighter, and there's 4 or 5 people, these motivational speakers.
Okay.
Anyway, we've done this sort of mindfulness thing where you've got to sort of meditate and picture yourself outside of your body, and then you're floating above your body, and then you're in the sky, and then
Yep.
and then at the end of it, mate, they said go back to where your safe place was when you were a child.
Yeah.
This in front of about 400 people. This.
Yeah.
So I go back to this safe place when I was a child, and they said to me, right, look for your childhood self now out the window. So I looked through the window, mate, I was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I could see my childhood self across the water. Anyway, I run over to him, give him a big cuddle, and it was like wrapping a coat of armor around him. And from that moment on, all the sort of negativity towards my childhood sort of disappeared,
Beautiful.
and it all became like positive, because it was like everything that's you've had in your life. And I'm not saying I'm innocent, mate, because I've been a right bell end in my time.
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Likewise. Yeah. Of course.
And everything's led to this moment. And this moment is leading to better moments.
Mhm.
They're
100%.
all this positivity that I've started off, over the last 6-7 weeks. It just seems to be snowballing,
Yeah.
and there's more and more of it coming all the time. And it's crazy, because you made a good point there where you said we know the answers to our problems. Jordan Peterson said that you could sit at the end of your bed and write all your issues down on a piece of paper that you know. Why am I struggling? Well, I've got a drug problem or an alcohol problem. Or why does my chest feel heavy? Well, I smoke.
Yeah.
Why is my back hurting? Well, I'm probably 6 stone overweight.
Yeah.
Why am I struggling? Why am I depressed? Well, look at the food you're eating. Look at you're on the beer and the drugs every day of the week.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, that's why you're depressed. Give yourself a shot first by, if you have got depression, go to the gym, eat right.
Yeah.
And then after you've sort of broke down 5 or 6 barriers, then look at yourself and address yourself again and go, well, how do I feel now? Well, I actually feel better,
Yeah.
because, well, I've lost 3 stone in weight. I haven't drunk for X amount.
Yeah.
I'm not taking drugs no more. I don't go and do this, or, all these negative things.
Of course.
And I think we're too quick as a society to look at ourselves and go, I've got mental health problems. I'm never going to be the same again.
Yeah.
And I'm always going to be this way. By doing that, mate, you'll know affirmations. We tell ourselves affirmations, and it becomes our reality. If I say I'm a drug addict or an alcoholic or I'm a piece of shit,
Yeah,
you're always going to be that way
exactly.
because you're telling yourself you are. And that's sort of where I'm getting to is when I'd had that sort of moment with my childhood self and I no longer said to myself, you are who you are because of these reasons.
Yeah,
Now it sort of just became a part of my past
yeah.
and it was no longer my definition.
Hmm.
It was no longer, whenever I used to meet people, if I'd have met you 2, 3 years ago, I'd have said to you, hi, Kyle, my name's Lee, I'm a cocaine addict.
Yeah.
Whereas now I don't. Now I say that, I'm just me.
Do just you. You've stripped yourself on that title,
Yeah,
which puts burden and puts pressure on.
yeah,
In the societal programming,
yeah.
people give themselves titles. I'm sure I've got ADHD.
Mm,
I've not done the test, but I'll tick all the boxes for it.
mm,
But I'm not doing it, not because I'm in denial or I'm in fear of having it, but why? It's psychological, right? You've got ADHD, but I am not ADHD. Do you know, you've
mm,
got a flu, but you are not the flu.
mm.
It's like people put well, I've got ADHD. You'll meet women, you'll meet lads, and it's like, yeah, I've got ADHD, mate. Right. So that's it now.
Yeah,
That's your excuse not to prosper, not to go within.
exactly. Yeah,
So I stay away from the title side of things. And like you said there, it's you'd introduce yourself as that, but you're not. And this is one thing I've learned as well recently is you, when you introduce yourself, my name is Lee, I am, you are you. There's
mm,
two versions of you. There's this physical vehicle that we carry through life, and there's infinite
mm,
of you, your soul. It's like, it might sound like a joke, but for example, you could be in love with someone. If they lost their legs, I'm not half the man I used to be. I'm still in love with you. I'm in love with your soul,
mm.
But people judge. We live in a world that judge, and rightfully so, we should be judging. It's in our natural instinct to judge. It's a defense mechanism. But if you meet somebody, for example, friendship or a relationship, just to let you know, I used to be a XYZ. I used to be a drug addict. People will judge you for that now, but you're not that person anymore.
Yeah,
And it takes it takes bottle for people to say, I used to be that like yourself, Lee, and always give yourself a pat on the back. What you used to be and what you are two different things. But without being that, you wouldn't be here.
and that's it, mate. So I've had this conversation with my missus and with my therapist before Christmas, where I couldn't take recognition or a pat on the back. I couldn't give myself a pat on the
Yeah.
back, and my therapist said to me, "No, you're doing really well, and the conversations that you're having and the steps you're making to go forward." And I'd always say, yeah, but this,"
Yeah.
and she's like, "But what? Why do you keep sort of explaining yourself in this negative way?"
Denying yourself of an achievement or being happy.
I mean, it was because for a long time, mate, I didn't feel like I fucking deserved it
Yeah. Yeah.
because of the person that I used to be, and since that sort of breakthrough that I've had, it's not a case of deserving things. It's a case of you are who you are, and until we accept that the past is the past, like I said to you outside, your past will be your future
100%.
because you just live the day on replay all
Yeah,
the time. And
definitely.
it's unfortunate that there is a lot of people, you look on social media and you've got advocates for people with mental health. You've got people who will openly say, I struggle with my mental health, but don't advocate it, but just sort of show
Yeah.
who they are, whatever that may be, whether they've got bipolar, depression, and then you've got people who will sort of use it as this medal to wear around the neck,
Yeah.
which is, I'm all about the positivity,
Of
but
course.
I guess what I'm trying to say is like people will open a conversation with, I am X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And I believe there is a lot of it on social media, which is purely clickbait.
Of course it is. Of course it is. The soulless individuals, a lot of them.
Mm.
There's a lot of soulless individuals.
We were saying about like social media being this place where a lot of whatever the subject may be, there's a lot of clickbait, but I believe that people who sort of advocate for mental health for the wrong reasons, it's fucking despicable.
100%. And a lot of people are cash cowing, especially in the spiritual realm as well. You get a lot of people, the tarot readers, and I'm skeptical, but I do believe there is, again, it's frequency. People can tap into certain frequency. We're not the only ones here, but not to go into that too much, but you get a lot of tarot readers. There's a couple of lads that I see on TikTok and I look at them and again, to the untrained mind, to people that are not on the same frequency, it looks like, well, who are you, Kyle, to judge them? You're just judging them, but it's not. But the eyes are the key to the soul. And I see a few lads there on TikTok and they're soulless NPCs, non-playing characters, and I think you've got the nerve to touch on certain things and you're doing it, but you know what? The screen's ringing, you're getting gifts, you're getting this, and it's like a lot of people will essentially profit off people's vulnerability, and it's sickening to see. But you know what? On a karmic level, that's them for them to deal with. So, you know, as long as you know you're righteous and you're pure and your intentions and your moral compass are in the right place, it's ignoring all that. But again, ourselves being on social media, trying to get to the front of that, you're washed out by people that are not genuine, and people get stung. But you know, there's fraudsters. So what happens is it can, even though it's such a positive thing to talk about, and mental health, there's a lot of negative connotations assigned to it because people have abused people who are vulnerable. Oh, he's just, look at that leader, look at that Kyle, yeah, you're probably going to rip me off him. Well, actually, no, come down, do a podcast or have a chat over the phone or whatever it is that you offer as a service. But because so many people have not got that pure intention, they just want to rake it in off people.
So I was listening to something. It's funny you should say that. I was listening to a conversation the other day on social media between, Mike from Manchester, Mad Mike.
Mad Mike, can't say it.
No, he's like an ex-footballer. He advocates he was an ex-cocaine addict.
Okay.
He's quite well known on Instagram and social media and things
Okay.
like that. And he was having a conversation with a guy from London. What was his name? Gav. And they would talk. So this Gav was a recovery coach.
Okay.
But he'd openly said, look, I relapsed 3 months ago.
Yeah.
But I'm still coaching people.
Yeah.
So this Mike said to him, how can you be a coach when you relapsed 3 months ago?
Yeah.
So I'm sort of swinging both ways on this. I was for a while. And this Gav, he got a lot of stick for it, to be fair.
Yeah.
A lot of stick on social media. I think his mum and his missus got a bit of stick as well. And then I had this conversation with my missus, and my missus said, well, just because he's relapsed doesn't mean he's then unable to give other people knowledge or assistance with what they're doing.
Of course.
But I guess sort of Mike, and his argument was he hadn't been to Drug Anonymous or Alcohol Anonymous or anything like that. Sorry, the best way to help somebody was Alcohol Anonymous or Drug Anonymous. And I guess from what you're saying there, and similar to me, like I can sit here now and have conversations with somebody who's got a gambling addiction, an alcohol addiction, a drug addiction. I'm not necessarily going to sit here and tell them what to do because I'm not them.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I can do is be relative to the stuff that I've been through and just give out a helping piece of advice, whatever that may be.
That's it.
And I think if some people want to do that as a job, good luck to them. I don't see the problem with that, mate. I think if it's, like you were saying before, if there's a purpose in what you're doing, you'll be successful.
Definitely.
If you're unwilling or found wanting, it's going to be unsuccessful because the truth will come out in what you're doing.
Yeah.
So if you're doing it for financial reasons only, eventually you'll get found out.
100%.
And that's sort of where I was at the beginning with the podcast, is like, I was still struggling. I was sort of on the back end of my addictions.
Yeah.
And then I was saying to me missus, like, how can I sit there and talk about a drug addiction if I'm still in it? It's sort of cliche, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
But you can know, and this is the thing, it's judging. And I think, like you said there, this lad, Gaz, who had this lad, Mike, who had a slip, who's anyone to judge? It shows that he's human. But instantly, it's almost like, that's a fine example, actually. That's a fine example of no matter how well you do, it might have been months, years. I don't know him personally, but from what you told me, he might have been months, years clean. He had that one weekend where he's off his nut, and that's it then. So all that good work, all in people's lives that he has changed, that gets overseen because, look, he's one of us again. Well, wouldn't you resonate with someone more? He's not done it intentionally. He's had a trigger. He's human. A lot of people think they're in control all the time. You're not in control. You're not as smart as you think you are. Not all of your thoughts. You don't own all of your thoughts. You're not in control of all your thoughts. People have intrusive thoughts. They struggle with that. And people get judged because they express it. Oh, you're a wrong and you're a weirdo. Oh, he's dangerous. Him, you know, he needs sectioning. No, hang on. It's a cry for help. So whatever this guy's has gone through, you know, props to him. Now I can understand it because it's a very sensitive subject. We judge anyway. Like I said to you before, it's part of our human nature to judge, but judge correctly, judge with an open mind. You know, it's like this Gaz has done so much goodness, and in that one moment, all that's gone to the point where they're now attacking his missus and his mother. You said like he's not the issue; it's society, and people are always looking to catch you out. I do the TikTok, I do the YouTube, I do radio, I do public speaking, you know, and it's my life work. It is, and it will be, and I'll turn it into something that I can look back on one day and say, you know, I've helped so many people. Of course, you make money off it if it's a full-time job, which it isn't at the moment. But what I'm saying, if it, like you said before, if it's all about money, there's a million and one ways to make money. It's where your passion is, and passion will get you across the finish line. Of course, you want to reap the rewards financially if you're full-time at it. But ultimately, yeah, you will get caught out. People will get caught out, and it's good to be transparent and open and honest up front. And I'm like that with people that I meet. Like I said to you before, the outreach work that we do, the man on the street who sat down there probably on some substances that had led him to that, not all the time. It could be he's living with his parents. His parents might have passed away, for example. He might have been with his missus. She kicked him out. Not every person that's on the corner of the street is a crackhead, is a sniffhead, is an alcoholic. You know, things happen in life that you have no control over. But I don't look at that man on the corner asking me for a quid any different to the guy driving past in a Lamborghini. The only difference between them two men is dedication. And that's all it is. Like I said to you before, it's not how long you do something, it's how well you do it, and it's getting better each and every single day. It's being consistency, turning up when you don't want to, whether that's the gym, podcast, you're having a bad night's sleep, oh, I've got a podcast on. It's just being present and just doing sometimes the bare minimal. We put so much pressure on ourselves in society and workplaces and relationships. I must look a certain way. I must have a certain amount of money. I must be doing this by this age. I'm 37. And I'll be honest with you, Lee, when I was 19, 20, I used to cry over the fact if I wasn't a millionaire before I'm 30, I failed at life. I'm not a millionaire. I'm well over 30. We put too much pressure on ourselves. It's societal programming. It's the bigger picture. Now, I'm not saying just be a lazy twat and do nothing about it. You have to put the graft in. Work smarter than harder in today's society, which is a big thing for a lot of people. You know, we're both the same age. So I was always raised to work hard, put the hours in, get the results. Nowadays, it's almost like it's reversed. Less time, more results. And it's like I struggle with that. So we have to adapt. We have to keep up with the Joneses. No, it's making sure your mental health is intact. I was reading it the other day. You can have the best body, you can have all the money in the world, the biggest house, the nicest car, but if your mental health is not right, everything else will just collapse in front of you. It's learning that the brain is the biggest tool. You know, we are the inventor of our dreams and our nightmares. And where do you start? It starts with what you have control over. Again, you don't always have control over your thoughts, but what you have control over is who you engage with. You know, we're social creatures. If you feel like you're around a certain friendship group, in a certain relationship, in a certain work job, and you're not benefiting from it, and it's actually making you deteriorate mentally, why are you still turning up? Because what? You're people pleasing. And this is another big thing for me, people pleasing all my life, always taking people under my wing, financially, emotionally, to the point where it drains you, like you said before. You have to remove yourself from certain people, and you can love from a distance. And I think it's so important that you focus on yourself and know who's real for you, who's there for you. And it's an exchange. It's not always about I've given you that, so you owe me that. No, we all own nothing. We don't even own the breath that we breathe. The air in our lungs is borrowed. Everything is borrowed, just like time. But you can be proactive and stay away from certain people. Stop listening to certain music, watching certain films, because if these are distractions and taking you away from you, in the end, who are you going to point fingers at? You've got yourself to blame. And society now is built on this American dream. You know, you should have a big house, you should have this, you should be married at a certain age. You know, single mothers are not worthy of being loved. If you're an ex criminal, you're an ex drug addict, yeah, you're a piece of scum, you're not worthy of being loved. And it's like, it's just so wrong. It's just so wrong. And it's only going to get worse with the power of social media, with expectation. Like I said before, with women now, it breaks my heart to see them selling their soul because they've got a bit of a pretty face and what not going on. When it comes round to you finding love, you're going to be so broken. There's two sides to being broken. A quote I read a long time ago: everyone's broken. It's how the light gets through. Beautiful. But the reality is, you can be so broken that nothing can fix you. Yet you're going to try and entertain the normal life. You're going to try and fall in love, have kids. And then what happens then is you have what I believe is it's ancestral. The karma comes with it. A lot of people are not doing the work on themselves. For example, relationships. The relationship's breaking down. I'm sure you know people, I do. Let's have a baby. This will save the relationship. And then what happens then? That karma gets put onto the kid and history repeats itself. So we need to break that cycle. And there's so many contributing factors. It's having talks like these. It's being around like-minded people like me and yourself. It's the alternative medicine. You know, it's the music we consume, the videos we watch, the content we're digesting all the time. It's going back to basics. It's connecting with man. It's realizing that you need to strip yourself from what society deems fit for you. You should have a certain car. You should look a certain way. This is what's killing us off. It's separating us. You talk about religion. That's another big factor. The big C19. Be careful what we're saying here because it's going online. They're all divide and conquer techniques and people don't see it. And there's nothing more heartbreaking than coming across people that you love and care for, friends and family, who you'd take bullets for, you'd jump off a cliff for all day long, yet they're the first ones to buy into this shit. My grandma passed away just before COVID. And I honestly think if she was alive through it, it would have been COVID that would have killed her anyway. Bless her. She was a nurse at Christie's for over 35 years. She was, in full respect to the NHS, they do good and bad. There's good and bad in everything, but it would have broke my heart to know that. And like you said, you were very close to your grandparents. It's just programming. They've got us. So we need to raise frequency.
It's funny. So, like, my granddad, he passed away literally just before C19 as well, in the December.
That's his soul.
And it's like what you just said there towards the end. It's about this sort of keeping us all segregated and everybody's argumentative and everyone hates each other. And like we said before, you're a vegan.
Yeah.
I'm on carnivore.
Yeah. Two opposites.
Not once did we look at each other and go, fuck, I can't stand it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're so relative in so many other different places where it sounds crazy where two people who eat different things can't actually get along.
Yeah, it's sad.
And that's at the sort of lower end of the scale in comparison to racism, religion,
exactly,
and things like that. And you look at it, mate, on the news, or the news itself in itself is just there. It's a scaremonger tactic.
Of course it is, yeah.
And but even on social media, mate, and again, I'm gonna revert back to TikTok.
Yeah.
Well, you go on there and you're seeing people in all these debates, and couldn't give a fuck about it. I don't not asked them one bit. You know what I mean? But you think you sit there and you're wasting all your energy rowing over something that doesn't even involve you. And on the other hand, you're not going to change anyway.
Nothing, exactly. Yeah.
I've said it before, mate. I've got quite a few friends, and rightly so. Some of them have got strong opinions on certain things because it's affected their lives, and I appreciate that and I understand it. And they've got a lot of anger and pain. Yeah. But the one thing that I was in that group, and I'd always post on social media about C19 or government, blah blah blah. But I've just come to the realization that once again, you mentioned it before, keeping it simple. Yeah. I spoke to a guy from Dublin. He's wrote a book called Keep It Simple.
Nice.
And it's about, and that was when I sort of took that advice on, stripping yourself back. Yeah. I used to be a very dramatic individual. I'd always be involved in drama.
Yeah, me too.
When I was younger.
Got to kick off it.
Yeah. And what I've learned is it's an addiction. Yeah. So you've got to be around drama and knowing everybody's business. And we live in a very small community where everybody knows everyone. Yeah. But I got this, have you heard about this and heard about this? And it was like, I'd get a feed off people, phoning people and saying, I've just heard this and this and this and blah, blah, blah. And again, going back to that is, my life now is so simple, mate. And I mean, there's me missus, there's the kids, there's my job, I play golf, I go to the gym, and the podcast. That's it.
Are you happy?
Probably happy. So when I was talking about me searching for this hedonistic happiness before, like I say, I've been to Vegas, I've been skiing,
Nice.
I've been to Disneyland, Florida a couple of times.
Yeah.
I had a 4-bedroom house. Don't know what that is. I had a 4-bedroom house, and I was probably the saddest I've been in
Yeah.
a long, long time.
Running away from problems that you needed to fix up
Yeah.
on.
And whereas now, mate, like my life is so.
That's TikTok. They want you to scroll on that because you've not been interacting with the screen.
All right,
They want you to.
I'll do that in a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I was so caught up in this mothball of trying to make myself. I was an avatar of myself. I
Yeah.
was an avatar of myself. I'd created this person who I didn't even like,
Yeah.
who I thought everybody liked, and I was cool, and I was a dickhead. Whereas now, mate, like you just asked me if I'm happy.
Yeah.
I can look you in the eye and say, yeah,
Yeah. I can feel that from you as well.
100%,
And that's
mate.
it.
And like,
Perfect.
don't get me wrong, I've made a lot of mistakes in my time, and I've upset a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But I've apologized to myself for it.
Yeah.
And I believe, and I've apologized to these people many a times in the past, whoever that may be,
Yeah.
family, friends, whatever.
Yeah.
We've got to learn to forgive ourselves, man. Even if we've been hurt, learn to forgive yourself. Don't. I read this quote again. Not forgiving somebody and punishing yourself over it is like drinking poison every day and hoping somebody else dies.
Yeah, definitely.
And I feel that
Yeah.
because I was angry at the world, mate, for a long time. I thought the world owes me a fucking favour and they
Yeah.
better give it me soon.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll just stay like a dickhead for the rest of my life and
So
treat
true.
people like shit. And once you've come to the realisation that nobody's coming to, and this, I believe this, we can have conversation, peer-on-peer conversation, or you can speak to specialists or therapists or psychiatrists, whatever that may be. But nobody is coming to save you.
No one.
Nobody. You are the only one who will find yourself and work your way out of whatever your problems are. You can listen to Gabor Mate or Jordan Peterson
Yeah.
or all these special people. You can listen to them all.
Yeah.
But until you realise that ain't nobody coming to fucking save you.
100%.
My next question was going to be, at the beginning, once that realisation is,
Yeah.
nobody's coming to save me. On simplistic terms, what would you say is the best sort of, right, this is where I need to get to now? Just spend five minutes talking about, right, I'm going to pick myself up because everybody says the only way is up from rock bottom, which I
Yeah.
disagree with.
Yeah.
But it's not. People commit suicide all the time when they're at the bottom. Round here, there's been massive rates of suicide over the last couple of years. North Wales has got one of the highest rates of men's suicide in Britain.
Gosh, I wouldn't think that because like I say, I used to live here. I'd say here in Whitby are two of the most beautiful places. But it's not that. It's not the beach that does it. It's surprising to hear.
Yeah,
that.
there's over the last 3 years, just in this town or local, I'd probably say 5 or 6, maybe more. There was a gentleman probably 2 months ago, just on the top of the road up here, stepped in front of a wagon and left a note for his family. There's another guy, somebody who I know behind this building, lived in the flats, went to hospital begging for help. They wouldn't help him. They said, this is a phone number, ring it in the morning. Went home and took his own life. So I guess the next question is, and we can do it once we've stopped.
Yeah.
Again, the next question, what I'd want you to sort of bring your knowledge to is, how do we, once the realization is there, how do we break out of it? How do we take those first steps? And yeah, I just want to hear what you're going to say, really.
Yeah.
Cool.
Perfect. Good.
Yeah, mate. So going back to where we were, what would, if you were to give somebody advice now who was wanting to get out of a certain lifestyle or a certain mental state, what would your advice be?
Me personally, I think it's like you said before. It's taking ownership. It's accepting who you are, but also understanding who you want to be. And fuck other people. We spend most of our 85% of our lives getting to know other people. It's a hell of a lot of time. Understanding that you have got all the ability within you to get through it, because don't forget you put yourself there in the first place. No one's forced that coke up your nose. No one's forced a beer in your hand. We let our emotions dictate ultimately. So it's understanding that your emotions will go for you or go against you. So little practices. So bring this back to in simplistic bite-sized form. For me personally, every day when I get up in the morning, I'm not on my phone. I think I built up a bit of a body clock now where as long as I'm in bed before 10, 11 o'clock, I'm up at 5:30, 6 in the morning. You
Same.
know, if I feel a bit rough or, you know, a bit tired, I've not slept well, I'll stick the alarm on just to make sure I don't sleep past it. As soon as I get up, and a lot of people watching this will deny it, they're straight on the social.
I do it.
Do you know what I mean?
I do it.
Get rid of that. Now, Les Brown, he's a motivational speaker, come up through the church group. He's in his late 70s now. I don't want to insult him, but he's got to be touching 80s. But he come up through the church group where you make money off selling cassettes. And that wasn't even a thing until the end of his church career, really. Now he's on social media, but he talks massively. Again, it falls into like Seneca and Stoicism, setting your spirit for the day. The first 15 minutes, this has been proven through thousands of studies, is the most important. Set your spirit for the day. So when I get up in the morning, the phone doesn't exist. As much as you want to go on there and check it and stuff, no, I'll get up, I'll have some water. Not ice cold water. I'll leave a bottle of water out, stay away from the tap water for obvious reasons. Even the plastic bottles, that's another bloody argument. But yeah, there's chemicals in them. But long story short, I'll have a glass of water, I'll sit down and I'll focus on my breath work. 9 times out of 10, I'll put a bit of an incense stick on. Just nice smells, you know, go off the senses, smells, it relaxes you. And I'll put a bit of like natural music on. I don't mean as much as I love reggae. I think reggae music is for the soul. I'll put natural acoustic songs on. So like the sound of tabla drums, Indian drums. And I'll just focus. I'll focus on my breath. I've got my pen and paper and I'll write down the things that I know I need to do. It's just dumping it on paper. You know, we all have bad dreams that can make you wake up and feel like you're in a bad mood. But yeah, you dump it all on paper and it just gives this roadmap for the day. And affirmations, like we said before, give thanks, smile. There is actually people that do courses learning how to smile. We don't smile enough. You look in the shower, you're having a shave, you're having whatever you're doing, you're getting dressed, you're checking your hair's all right. Look in the mirror and smile. Give thanks.
So I've actually just finished some training on happiness.
Nice.
And one of them says that, so do you know when we take a photograph?
Yeah.
You just do this. Where we take a photograph, say you're in a group photograph, and you'll give it the old, that smile.
Such a force.
Where it's just your lips move. They reckon it's scientifically proven that if you raise your eyebrows when you smile, it automatically gives off sort of this ability to make other people genuinely happy. Just something as simple as raising when you smile. Your eyes go up,
eyes up,
and it gives off a better feeling than just a. So, you know what I mean?
It's a sarcastic.
Something simple like that though. Really easy.
Powerful, and it's that instant exchange of energy. And how many muscles in your face have got to move to do that instant smile?
Yeah.
So yeah, in the morning, 15 minutes, and I don't want to turn it into a diet podcast, but coffee. We've got to stay away from the coffee, brother. It's your body goes into a state of shock when you drink it, but we mistake it as being, it wakes me up.
Yeah.
You know, it's an addiction.
Yeah.
And it takes 3 to 5 days for it to detox out of your system. So that there, obviously sugar and stuff, it's something I work on massively, but sugar's in everything now, sauce, bread, everything. You know, we are under attack. But in the first 15 minutes, warm water, cold water, a bit of meditation, incense stick, give thanks, pen and paper, and then whatever's going to happen, there's going to be a shitstorm coming anyway. It's inevitable. You could be having the best day of your life. You could be crossing the road. Someone's not looking. Whatever it is, someone in the shop's not as happy as you. And we can't let that affect us. You've got to stay in your own lane, as they say. And just be humble through it. And like you said, they're smiling. I don't do it too often, especially in Manchester. And I'm not getting twatted before I know it. But if I see someone, I'm a big empath. I can feel, you know, they could do with a smile. Morning, mate. Morning, love. It takes you less than a millisecond. And that could just change someone's day. It sounds really cheesy, but, you know, you can't have a go at someone for being cheesy.
Well, I told you before, mate, the guy that I've just had on the podcast from New Zealand.
Yeah.
I came across him on social media. He just walks with his phone out.
I've seen him. He looks like he could be cousins with Dwayne. What's his name? Dwayne Johnson.
Looks like Maui off Moana.
Yeah. He's lost loads of weight through doing the walk.
That's him. So that's
fantastic.
I done a podcast with him
Nice.
yesterday.
Yeah.
And that was the reason how I sort of came across him, because he's just walking and then people are walking past him and he's like, hey, okay,
Yeah.
just dead nice. And I was like, wow, look at the energy on this
This
guy,
is it.
proper positive.
Yeah.
You know, he's a big dude, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of the time you'd get a lot of negative energy.
Yeah.
People would be negative towards him.
Yeah.
But for a guy, do you know what he said, mate? And it touched me. He said, through people being negative towards him and him accepting the negativity that they're putting onto him, what if they're calling him names or whatever like that, he would rather accept that than them do it to somebody else. And I was like, fucking hell, that's fucking strong. That for somebody like he's had problems with his weight his whole life.
Yeah.
And it touched me, man, when he said, you know, I'd rather them take it, so if that makes them feel better about themselves and they don't do it to anybody else.
Beautiful.
Fuck, that's so strong. Honestly, mate, I was like,
Yeah.
gives me chills. And
Beautiful, but that just shows how at peace he is with himself. And on a karmic level, the energy bank is just ringing. And it's a beautiful place to be. And that's what we should all be aiming for.
Yeah.
You know, yourself, I said to you there before, it's like, I need to get into the lives and start reaching out to people more. But ultimately, you've got to have strong shoulders. And I can sense you have. If me and you just go to, well, I won't say the pub, go to a bite to eat and some lads kicking off. We're big lads. It's not about the size, but mentally, we'd have a sharp word and like, calm it down, lads. Do you know what I mean? So it's carrying that online. And a lot of people, there is trolls, there is negativity. The world is built on it. So don't let apps or anything like that put us off. But I get it a lot when I come on there. People, oh, you're chatting shit, you this, that, the other, da, da, da. And I'll say, bless them. I'm going to put a prayer out for you tonight. Kill them with kindness. Positivity will always win. But yeah, we're on the right path, brother. And I do believe as long as we stay focused and consistent, we will reach out. Like I said, for me, this whole social media thing, I feel as though my soul is aching from it. And that sounds a bit dramatic, but what I'm saying is I'll be on there and it hurts me to see the amount of people that come through on the inbox and reaching out. They're crying for help. Yeah. At that point then, that's the universe saying, turn your back on this one and you'll be held karmically responsible. That's even a word.
I've had something similar myself, mate, because obviously you look, you know, we're probably all the same in we want something. If we want something, we want it now.
Yeah.
Even though you're willing to put the work in, it's like, why isn't it happening? And it's the same with what I'm doing here. You know, the YouTube, it's still small. The numbers are still small.
For now, it'll get there.
Yeah, and for now. And it's like, at one point towards the end of last year, I was like, fuck it. I'm not bothering. It's taking too much of me, because it was ripping me soul at one point.
Raining.
Some of the conversations I was having, and I'd get home and I'd be like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
That was a tough conversation to have.
Yeah.
Few of them brought me to tears, like. And there was a few times, mate, where I'd think, I'm not doing this no more. It's going to ruin me.
Yeah.
And because you've got to look after yourself at the end of the day, you're number one.
100%.
And then I'd just get the odd message here and there off people, you know, I've just watched this, appreciate you.
Yeah.
And then I got a phone call from a guy in Scotland. He's a wagon driver and he'd had to pull over because he was listening to my podcast and he started crying. And I was like, fuck. And then it just G you up. And then,
of course it does.
And I was like, this is it, man. This just one person. If it helps one person,
that's it. That's
enough for me.
Yeah.
To just go, yeah, you're doing all right. You're doing the right thing.
100%. And that one person will become 10 and 10 will multiply and it'll radiate through. And it is being consistent and radiating through. It starts with one person. And that's how I aim for it. I don't care about numbers. Like I told you before, I deleted my TikTok. And then I did it back on again, 6-month gap. And I thought, you know what? I couldn't give a flying F about anyone. Because it was always, I felt when I got on TikTok, I had to impress people, get in with certain gangs or cliques and whatever, just to get a bit of, but in the end, you know, I just didn't resonate with it. I thought, I don't have to speak with this person to get where I want to be. And then in the end, I've got one on you. There's a lot of toxicity on social media. And for me, if it means being on my own and not being associated to certain groups, because there is a lot of clicky groups on any social media platform, I am very selective who I work with, whether it's a podcast, whatever it is. So like you said before about setting up and stuff like that, like I said, no, it's a blessing to be here. So it's a blessing for you to have me here and vice versa. It's an equal exchange. If I reach out to people, just know that it's a blessing that I want to work with you as much as it's a blessing that you're going to work with me. But get rid of the ego, and there's too much ego running around. And for me, if I clock onto it and I sense it, I'll just love from a distance. I don't have to be nasty about it, thinking that could have gone really well if I worked with them.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be.
Yeah.
Timing is everything. You can't force things. You can't rush things.
And that's sort of where I'm at now, where people have said, "Oh, they've had to reschedule," and they're apologising. I'm like, "Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
It'll get done when it's supposed to get done."
exactly.
So, coming towards the end now, I think, mate. But what's the next 6 months, 12 months hold for you? Have you got a plan? Have you got a direction where you want to go? Is it more of this?
Yeah.
Is it more of, like you said, you do public speaking and things like that? Is that sort of just more of that in general?
Yeah. I think I need to do the podcast more. I need to make more time for it, definitely. Because it can become a lonely world when you're doing it all at home on your own.
Yeah.
Just me and the three cats, my little blessings. So it's, definitely more of this, connecting with man, like I said before, and women as well. And just basically just spreading that radiation of positivity. Every day is a school day. I'm learning. I learn from these conversations. But yeah, the next 6 to 12 months, the vegan activism, I'm going to step that up a little bit. We can have another podcast on that if you want. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
Again, I like my nutrition and stuff like that. I know quite a little bit about the body and effects of food and blood and things like that. So we can do that if you want.
Be a laugh, turn it into a laugh.
Might have to put a barrier in front.
Yeah. Get me plant police with me. But it's learning to see the positives, and there's a lot of negativity towards the veganism movement and everything like this, the whole vegan movement. But it's the next 6 months is just staying focused. I'm going to focus on YouTube more. TikTok will always be there. I've got a healthy fan base on there, but for me, it's not about the numbers. It's about helping one person every single day.
The way I see it, mate, if you just touching on like veganism and compared to what I do, I'm obviously a carnivore.
Yeah.
We're all different, every one of us. And just because the one thing I find a lot with people is everybody's got a narrative, right? Everybody's my way. Don't do this way, do this way, and do this way. But it's the same in anything with life. You live and learn.
Yeah.
So in 6 months' time, I might go, it's probably not the way for me anymore. I'm feeling, or in 12 months' time, you might go, well, this effect or whatever, I might change it.
Yeah.
It's the same with everything in life. We're living and learning.
Yeah.
We're all making this shit up as we go along.
Literally.
All of us, mate.
100%. We're all winging it with things.
Yeah.
And it's about surrounding yourself with good people. I don't know about you now, but my circle is very, very small now. I've withdrawn my services from a lot of people. I love from a distance. And
same.
One of me, he's a brother from another mother, and he's probably the most recent friend in my life. The last couple of years, he lives literally down the road from me. He's going through his battles at the moment, but he's such a big inspiration to me, and he doesn't realise it because he's never had that congratulations. That he's had shit people around him all his life, but I always said to him, either you're carrying my grave or you're carrying my coffin or I'll be carrying yours.
Nice.
And he's just there for me, and I'll knock on his door and it'll just be a talking shit for 5 minutes, and that for me,
that's all you need, isn't it?
That's all you need. But he's going through his battles at the moment. He's hitting the drink and he's on the old dust, and it's like it breaks my heart to see it. But he's just not there yet. Like you say, he's just not there. We don't judge. And I said to him, I said, look, you're just not there yet, but just know that I'll always be here for you. And it's just supporting them, and don't force things onto people. You can't force things onto people, but just show your love. But for me, I've withdrawn massively from a lot of people. No hatred, no jealousy, no nothing like that. It's all love and blessings. But yeah, this year it's being cautious of who you spend time with.
Nice one.
And
last question from me, mate. If you were sat round a dinner table and you could invite 4 people from history who aren't alive, well, they could be alive.
Yeah.
Who would it be?
That's a very good question.
I ask everybody at the end of every
question. I've seen it on a few of your podcasts. Right, okay. First person would be Seneca, because I just feel like he's currently in my life, he's a mentor. Bob Marley.
Nice.
Because the again, frequency, the music he made, beautiful.
I watched his film the other week, and obviously I like a bit of reggae music and stuff like that, but I didn't realise, he's on par with your John Lennon, your Martin Luther King, those type of people.
Yeah. And I'd say for commitment and discipline and confidence, everything, a role model would be Muhammad Ali.
I love boxing.
Yeah.
One of my favourite people of all time.
Just he said it before. He goes, I am the greatest, before he was the greatest. He was a big example of manifestation.
He was a showmanship 30 years ahead of his own time.
Yeah.
People say Conor McGregor's very similar in showmanship.
Great man, but still fell off.
Yeah, and that's what I don't want to go into that, but he was, as far as showmanship goes, he managed. You know, he's the same manifestation.
Definitely.
One more.
And then the last person would be my grandparents, my nana.
Yeah.
Are you proud of me?
Mm.
And just to see a beautiful face one more time, and just to see that, you know, from high heavens, are you proud of me?
It's a big question, that, as well, isn't it?
It's a nice question, but it gives a lot of thought.
Yeah. I've sort of thought similar things. When you've just said that, then I've sort of asked the same question in my head. 2 years ago, I'd have probably said no. They wouldn't have been.
Yeah,
I think they are now.
definitely.
And the more I'm living every day, that's emotional, this, man. Get me emotional here.
But you see the signs, Lee. You see the signs where it's the random knock on the window or the letters, or you'll see music being, you hear music being played. We are just temporary on this earth in physical form, but we are eternal spiritually. You've got to look for the signs, brother. They're there. A good friend of mine, her daughter's passed away just before Christmas. She's only 29, God rest her soul. And yeah, we've not spoke for a few months, but I've reconnected with her, and you know, she's been making me think about certain things, about love and lust, and it's like, fucking hell, she's got a point. Again, people come into your life at the right time, and she's going through it, and she's dead strong, you know. And it's just, it's the signs. I said to her, look for the signs, and she's had them already. She was telling me about a certain song that I thought used to listen to, and the band is not, I don't even know the name of the band. It's like a bloody heavy metal band from years ago. And long story short, she doesn't even have Apple Music. She's not even got an account on the phone. She uses Spotify. She was in the car driving, and then that song came on Apple Music. I said, that's the sign.
Yeah, man.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
This thing we call life is painful, but the pain is our biggest teacher.
Mike Tyson said, mate, obviously, you know the story of Mike Tyson. His daughter passed away at 4 on a treadmill and things like that.
Yeah.
And he was speaking to Sugar Ray Leonard, and he says, life's beautiful. But he says, you know, if we want to experience all the good, we've got to experience all the bad as well.
Exactly.
You know, pain is a part of the beauty of being alive, I guess.
It really is.
And the growth and learnings you take from pain is, you'd probably take more learnings and growth from pain than you would from happiness.
100%. And the emotional, it's funny enough, I was saying this to my friend the other day on the phone. We overlook anger, we overlook pain, we overlook sadness, yet we'll constantly nourish happiness, endorphin-driven emotion, but we won't take time out and give the same respect to anger and sadness. But these are emotions. This is why you're traumatic. This is why you're so passive-aggressive. This is why you're so broken to the point where you don't even see it. We have to, as much as like now I could come out of here and say, let's say we speak on the phone tomorrow, I'm having a bit of a shitter today. I'm going to go out and do a bit of whatever to make myself feel happy. Go and get myself some clothes or whatever it is, retail therapy. That same love that you're giving to that emotion to raise happiness, give the same tenderness to anger. Don't ignore it and run away from it because it's in you. You know, we are emotional beings, and that's what heightens our intelligence as a species on Earth. That's about it, really, our emotional ability. Yeah. Everything else, we're fucked. You know, so
that's it, mate.
It's been beautiful, Lee. Thank you for having me down.
I've appreciated that, mate. It was a really good conversation. I'm sure we'll do more of them in the future.
100%, definitely.
There's plenty more that we can speak about on this topic and other topics, so we'll definitely do more, mate.
Perfect. It's been great having me down.
Yeah.
Definitely again in the future.
Cool, man.
Thank you.
Sound.
Nice one.